nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March meeting of the Greencastle School Board. Glad to see everybody here. You get to listen to my voice this evening because the president is out, so I apologize for that. We're going to get through it, though, so bear with me. Let's see. Starting off, do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
Yep, we have one item. It's just item 8I.
Okay.
And that's food service a la carte price increase.
Okay. Can I get a motion to add that for item 8I? All right. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right. Do we have any public comments regarding the agenda items? Anything on the agenda that anyone from the public would like to speak about? Hearing none, we'll move on. Moving into recognitions. Mr. Givity.
Yep, Mr. Roberts.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have Mr. Paxton Enzer here, and he is a second grader at Ridpath, and he was nominated by his second grade teacher, Mrs. Hayes, for our February Student of the Month. So I will read a couple words that she wrote about him. Paxton is our Student of the Month for February because of his kindness and genuine care for others. He gives hugs to his classmates that are having a rough time, offers to help others, uses a calm and gentle voice with his classmates, and will reassure others by giving them caring pats on the back. What a great example for Kindness Month. So, congratulations to Paxton.
I brought the whole crew that time.
Yeah, sure did.
So we have a photo backdrop set up for pictures of students of the month after they're recognized. Mr. McHugh?
It's my honor to introduce you to Aaliyah Hampton. Aaliyah is a kindergartner in Mrs. Burnham's class, and she was nominated by Mrs. Burnham, and then received several votes from our staff members for our Student of the Month for February. Mrs. Burnham writes, Aaliyah is always following directions in class. She works so hard and is a great role model to other students. I love that she always has a smile on her face, and I have enjoyed watching her grow. Aaliyah Hampton, our Student of the Month.
I know that's awesome. Congratulations. Oh my God.
Thank you.
So Cray Ames is the February Student of the Month for TV. Cray is a student in Mrs. Julie Stevens' class. She wrote some kind of things about him that I'm sure are very true. Cray was chosen for February Student of the Month for many reasons. First, he is a kind and caring student. He's demonstrated on many occasions that he truly cares about others by helping classmates and teachers without being asked. Cray sees something that needs to be done and he automatically jumps in to help. I appreciate this very much. Second, Cray is a good friend to his classmates. Cray is willing to volunteer to help any student that needs a partner for any activity. Finally, Cray has worked very hard in fifth grade this year, and I appreciate his dedication. So my student is Bailey, as she's not here today, but I will make sure that we give her a plaque and give her the recognition she deserves. We're super proud of her. Thank you.
Good job, Bailey. Good job, Bailey.
So the same, our student is not here. He has another activity. We had Joseph Hale, and his teacher nominated him, saying that he is kind to everyone. He gives to himself freely and helps others regardless of their situation. Decades from now, fellow students will remember Joseph for all of his kindness.
Okay. Moving on, we're going to go to the approval of the consent agenda, which consists of meeting minutes, the regular board meeting minutes from February 26th of 2024, which are posted on the board, or on the door, excuse me. Then into the allowance of claims, financial report, and personnel reports, part 1 and 2. Mrs. Romer.
Yes, hello. First in your finance packet, you're going to have the 2 payrolls in February, one dated February 2nd, total payroll of $465, $449.07, and along with that payroll came the payroll taxes and retirement. Total on that payroll was $131,842.99. And then the second regular payroll was dated the 16th. Total payroll $511,937.37. And again, payroll taxes and retirement total was $143,591.62. Did anyone have any questions on the payrolls? No? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to some prepays for February 2024. Total for some prepays was $323,301.94. Those were prepays for February. We also had a second batch of prepays due to my vacation that we dated that February 28th. So those payrolls, which you board approved a month before for us to go ahead and do that. So those prepays totaled $81,903.28. And then next in your packet, you're going to have a list of claims dated today, March 25th, 2024. Going through the list, did anyone have any questions about any specific claim this month?
Seemed pretty
Okay, typical.
normal.
There's nothing unusual on there. I agree. Total of $318,455.83. And then we'll move on to the finance report. The balance at the end of the education fund, the end of February 2024 was $3,845,286.56. And the balance in operations was $657,655.16. Total in all funds, if you go to the last page, was $8,778,738.73. Next in your packet, you've got the bank to balance report, or excuse me, bank to fund balance report, and you'll see that we're balanced to the penny on that. That means all of our funds balance with all of our banks, and that's exactly where we want to be at the end of the month. And then we've got the fund transfer report for February 2024. Total for all transfers was $968,571.35. Did anyone have any questions about any of the transfers? Those were pretty typical too. Okay. And then finally, for our finance report, we've got some updates for Bond 21 and Bond 2022 expenditures. We had one expenditure in Bond 2021 for construction services. There, $477,505.35. So the total for all expenditures at the end of February 2024, as you can see, we're getting really close to that original budget. The total is $31,581,897.46. And the same holds true with Bond 2022. We had a few expenditures for media displays for the middle school to finish out some of those projects. So our total at the end of February 2024 expenditures in Bond 2022, $3,950,095.97. And if you have any questions, I'd like to submit for approval.
I have no question.
Looks like they're getting close on the bonds. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion on that? All right. Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll move into reports. Doesn't look like we have the GCTA here this evening.
No, they didn't
Report?
communicate with me. They don't have anything new to report this evening.
Okay, all right, and Mrs. McPherson's not here, so I assume she is not going to make a
Correct.
report. Very good.
Yep, sure.
All right, so Mr. Givney is here, so he will make the superintendent's report.
Yeah, so
Very
I just
good.
have a couple of brief items to report on this evening. Probably one of the most exciting things that we look forward to each year is kindergarten roundup, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. McHugh, because my sticky note fell off my computer. It takes place next week, on the 2nd and the 4th, from 3 to 7 p.m., and it's both days at both buildings, correct? Correct. So looking to get our next year's kindergartners, get them acquainted with their buildings and begin the paperwork. It's an exciting time for not kids, but also for parents. So definitely a really exciting thing. Our overseas trip, I think, was a success. I've yet to hear much about it, but I'm looking forward to hearing some of the highlights from the kids and from our staff members. But I think overall the consensus is that was a positive thing for our kids and families to see some really neat things that might not have been possible.
I heard a lot of good reports on that.
And then with obviously buildings and facilities, obviously, it's no secret you kind of drive by that things are starting to look more complete with our building project. I'm just asking for everyone to be patient because there's still some work yet to be done. We're eager for it to be finished, but we want to make sure it's done right. And we want to show it off, and we're going to have an open house, and we're going to invite the community, past and present, into our facilities. We just want some of those spaces to be buttoned up a little bit more. So we're really pushing them to make sure that they get things done right, and that way when we're able to unveil it, it's mostly ready. But we're getting a lot closer, so we're hopefully it'll take place in April. We're starting to kind of occupy more of those spaces. And, our students will get access to those areas a little bit sooner, even if they're not fully finished. So that's very, very exciting. And then just some miscellaneous things that are kind of been projects over time. Hopefully, it'll improve some accessibility for some of our patrons. The stairs and the new handrail back by the tennis courts. Those are complete. Those were kind of rougher, probably longer than they needed to be. And then it looks like we have a mid-April install on some handrails out at the soccer field, track, football field on those bleachers as well. But outside of those things, I'm just looking forward to finishing off the year in a positive manner. Obviously, it being the first day back from spring break, I think there are a lot of smiling faces from both students and staff, and we're looking forward to the final push, which is also going to be a very busy time because we have our state testing, our iLearn. We have a lot of our recognition ceremonies and award ceremonies. I think it's like a week and a half. We have our top 10 dinner. So it's definitely a very exciting time of year, but a very busy time of year, and looking forward to sharing all those highlights. But yeah, that's kind of my update for this month.
Very good. Good. Thank you, Mr. Gibbon. All right, doesn't look like we have any old business to deal with. New business. We have several approval requests going before. We'll start off with authorization to advertise the notice of a public hearing for building projects.
Yeah, so
Building project.
yeah, right. So we're obviously working on finish up a very, very large building project. So while exciting, this is not of even nearly remotely the same magnitude. But we've been working to manage our debt service tax rate and how we structured the original project to leave some room for future opportunity to take care of maintenance needs, because we still know that we have a lot of things that have been deferred over time, things that are end of life. You know, we have a huge parking lot over at the high school that needs to be paved that wasn't a part of the project. We know we just have some miscellaneous like flooring, painting, lighting type issues, and a smaller general obligation bond issue would allow us to address those matters. So the board's not really, this isn't even the step that necessarily needs board approval. We want to make sure that before we do move forward and take the first step in advertising notice of a public hearing for building projects, that we obviously have that discussion with the board. So we've been working with our financial advisors and looking at debt structure, and again, managing to our tax rate, because we don't want to raise our debt service tax rate. We promised our stakeholders that we're going to manage to that tax rate. And anything moving forward, this would allow us to do that. We have a cliff. We're going to be paying off some obligations, and that's essentially what gives us room. So in some future meetings, we'll talk more specifically about that. We're looking at an issue in the round $2 to $2.5 million range, but we won't know for sure until assessed valuation comes out later this summer. So we won't finalize anything with that. But what we're able to do is reimburse back to a time period that would allow us to essentially use some of our rainy day funds to potentially get started on some of these things like paving and wait a little bit longer on others. So this is just the first step. So Ice Miller, Stiefel, Thurber and Brock, same kind of group of professionals. The only difference is on this smaller issue, we wouldn't necessarily be working with an architect.
Right.
So outside of that, I would like to recommend authorization to just move forward and just publish a notice of a first meeting. That's all you'd be approving.
I think it's a great idea. We have the capacity. We need to keep that tax rate the same. And it does look like moving into the future with the charts you've given us, there is more capacity down the line. So we're not handcuffing ourselves at all. We're just being due diligent. So
yep,
that's great. I like the idea of continuing to maintain things so we don't get in another situation where we have to take out another huge bond.
Correct. Yeah, the goal would be to do smaller issues moving forward, and in a couple of years we'd have capacity to do a smaller issue, or if we get an intervention, have an emergency, we could do this.
Okay, can I get a motion to advertise the notice of public hearing?
Do we need a motion to do that?
Yeah, I went ahead, and I think it, even though it's not statutorily required, it just it shows the board's, good faith in moving forward with that process or commitment.
I will make said motion.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have approval request for the 2024 school summer school.
Yeah, so as we move forward this month and the April meeting in May, we have some of those customary end of the year type items that we need to address. And in your board packets this month were our summer school proposals. I'm scrolling to get to them. Bear with me.
I'm on page 60. 59.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. McPherson's been working with the building principals to kind of finalize our plans. Obviously, there's a change in emphasis from the state with approach to summer school, specifically with more heavily funding second and third grade IREAD remediation. And so, as such, our elementary plans, we're focusing on some of our students who just need some additional support or are close to passing IREAD. Middle school, the return of our Fab Lab camp, and then our high school, some offerings for credit recovery or credit accrual, government econ, some online courses. So it's kind of a mix of traditional in-person versus online with some support from a teacher. So nothing unusual. We have to submit these requests to the DOE by April 1st. So that'll be our next step, and then we will work to recruit students and make sure it's feasible to offer all of those courses so that we're able to get reimbursed. Fine arts was also on there as well. So don't want to leave that out. So it'd be my recommendation that the board approve our summer school plans.
Summer school is not a popular thing to talk about all the time, that's for sure.
It's important.
But it is important. So, all right. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, got a second? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, we have approval request for special services, which include the 24-25 speech language pathologist services contract with Shelby Slack, the 24-25 physical therapy services contract with Sycamore Services, and the summer speech services. All in one.
Yeah, so again, as is customary, it's just a approval to seek continuation really of those services through those agencies and independent contractors, and then obviously moving forwards and offering summer speech.
It's a good program.
I will make a motion that we approve them.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Now we have approval request for the 2026 spring break trip to Budapest, Vienna, and Prague.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to make it through. Trying to make the spring break 2024.
We're talking about next year already. I like it.
But obviously, much appreciated in planning ahead and not waiting to the last minute. Because obviously there are costs associated with such trip and savings and fundraising. Essentially, they've submitted, Mr. Williams and team had submitted another proposal that is very similar to the trip the students just went on, except this time it is to Budapest, Vienna, and Prague. Obviously it'll be properly chaperoned. It'll meet all of the requirements. I think it'd be another good opportunity for our students and families. And outside of any questions, it would be my recommendation that the board approve or allow us to move forward in publicizing this opportunity and getting it organized.
Mr. Williams, how did the last round go?
Awesome. The trip was great. So kids really enjoyed it. We had our own first three last time, so they love their driver routine. There's a lot of things there. Really fantastic. I think pretty much everybody we interacted with is like this. So I was surprised with one of our local guys spoke 7 languages. So the kids really enjoyed it. I think we're trying to go on about the architecture. Spectacular from homeschool to so we're looking forward to next year. Having some areas for
Yeah, I can see that.
And how many students in total could you remind us went on this last trip?
We took 31. We have 17 signed up for Costa Rica right now. We're going to send out a reminder email for that. Hope we got number up.
Thank you.
It might be easier to get that number up now that kids are back and talking about the last trip.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of good things from those that I've spoken to today alone.
I think it's better for tonight, right?
Yeah, that's exciting for the students to have that opportunity. I like it. Okay. Do we have any further discussion on this? Can I get a motion? Okay. I have a motion.
A second?
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you for putting it on. I know it's a lot of work.
Thank you for doing that. Motion carried. Very cool. All right, we have a request for the 2024-25 Chartwells renewal.
Yep. So as is customary, this is time for renewal of Chartwells as our food service management company, and this is the third of 4 renewals, and they propose a 5.2% increase in fees for the 24-25 school year. It's all fairly standard. We've already shared it with IDOE food service. Be my recommendation that we move forward with the renewal.
Do we feel like we're in a good place with Chartwells right now?
Yeah, I feel like we're in a good place. I think we've had to work through some things and some transition, and there are going to be some additional items that they share out. Programs for our kids, Discovery Kitchen, just to try and encourage our younger students to try newer and exciting food options. Then also obviously building on some of like our secondary offerings.
I'm sure it's been a little bit hard from their standpoint with the kitchens being down and having to transfer food.
Are they settling into the new space?
Yes. Yep. We're settling into the high school kitchen, and they're more fully staffed. Not just at the high school, throughout. Just same battles facing pretty much every business that you talk to. With staff shortages. Yeah.
Okay.
They're excited. They love the new space and the new equipment.
I'll make a motion be renewed.
Okay. I have a motion.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We have a request for Dell proposal for a one-to-one device for grades K through 2.
Yeah, so I'd like to thank Mrs. McPherson and Mr. Hill for working on our long-term refresh plan. One of the challenges that we've been faced with the past several years is having more than one building's devices need to be refreshed at the same time. And obviously it's a significant investment that only seems to be getting more expensive, right? Because nothing's getting cheaper or less expensive. And so one of the things we've done is work to develop essentially kind of a 4-year refresh program to where, essentially every 4th year is a different building, or excuse me. Yes.
Different building.
Yep, different building each year. And we're focusing on K-2 next year, specifically the devices that we have for 2nd grade won't work with iLearn. And so we are choosing to go with K-2, and we're looking to replace those devices with Chromebooks. Corey worked to secure 3 different cost options. Dell's option was the lowest cost of the 3, and we're pleased with that device. So that would be our recommendation. We have the funds to cover this cost. Obviously, we can't charge for student fees and textbooks or devices any longer. We do receive a reimbursement from the state, although it's not for the full cost. So we're very particular with looking at how expensive things are.
On the devices, and we've had them for a good little while now, and we were lucky we had them through COVID. But is it proven that they learn better off the computers, or is it better for them, or would they be better off using, I don't know, books?
Yeah, I mean, we work with the teachers. I mean, the device is just a tool.
Yeah.
So we trust the teachers. We always think the best learning occurs face to face with the teacher and the student in the same classroom. So it's just a tool to enhance the learning and to help them in their learning. Certainly use them for assessment, use them for research, just all across the board. But by no means are they stuck in front of a screen all day.
Right.
And certainly our buildings have even just reflected on the use of technology coming out of COVID, and they've done some things differently with devices based on how responsible our students are, to where whether or not the device needs to go home each night or whether the device remains in the classroom. So made some adjustments there. I know the middle school is working on making an adjustment next year where devices don't go home right away in 6th grade. They're going to work on teaching them responsibility, how to care for the device, and prepare them to use the device responsibly. So yeah, it's just kind of that approach.
And I'm not against the devices. I just think it's good for us to look at them once in a while and say, is this
Yeah.
the right way of doing it? I couldn't tell you the last time, and this is me being antiquated, I'm sure, that my kids had to write out a paper. And
Yeah.
so, and it's all right here, but there's no here, right? So it's just something to think about.
I can't remember the last time I wrote something out either.
But you had the foundation.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a tool. So they're handwriting and it's combination of everything.
I'll make a motion to that we go with Corey Eaton's recommendation.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
All right. I appreciate that because it'll allow us to get those ordered so that way we're prepared to have those for return students next school year.
Okay. All right, we have a request for the second reading of the GCSE priorities and goals for 2024 through 27.
Yeah, so we won't go through this whole presentation like we did last month. When each of the goal chairs shared specifically about their goal, but this is a second reading and adoption of our priorities.
Thank you to the administrators that put all the time in to make this.
It's a lot of hard work.
Making sure we're all rowing in the same direction is a great idea. So, good.
Okay, can I get a motion? Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, thank you. And finally, we have an approval request for some donations.
We have I still, right?
Oh, we do have I.
Yes.
We forgot I. How about that? I told you I was going to mess up. You guys told me I wouldn't. I told you I would. All right, we have I for the food service a la carte.
Well, we have H before I.
Oh, so I jumped the gun. I was wrong.
So you messed up.
I messed up.
I take that back.
Try
I
to
didn't
keep
mess
you on
up.
your toes.
There it is.
You planned that.
I guess I did. All right, we'll move into the approval request on H for some donations.
We teach the alphabets.
I guess so. But we don't handwrite it out.
We don't let it out.
Good grief. All right, we have a donation from Jeff and Denise Sigworth to Greencastle High School. Top 10% dinner in the amount of $1,500. Can we get both of those at the same time? Yeah. All right, and we have a Jack and Shirley Dalton Trust, Greencastle High School. Outstanding senior recipient in the amount of $2,000. $1,000 will go to last year's recipient, Riley Tuttle. That's great. I do like donations. Very cool.
Make a motion to be approved.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Now, with Brian's permission, we'll move into I, which would be the food service a la carte increase.
Yeah, so we're bringing a proposal to make a couple of adjustments, and certainly these won't be the last. But as food costs have increased, we did not make any adjustments to. We didn't make the needed adjustments to our a la carte pricing and our student meal prices for this year, so this will help us transition to the prices that these items need to be sold at in order to make sure that we have a solvent food service operations program. And so these prices would go into effect on April 1st.
Looks like we only have
There's just four items.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Yep. And these are all a la carte. These are not the general base meal options.
Lipton tea. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion to approve, seconded. Do we have any further discussion on it? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. You have any other business? No other business? You have no other business? Brian, do we have any other business?
I've spoken enough.
Okay. Very good. And if we have nothing further to come before the board, then we will move into adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll second
Okay.
Dale's motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thanks everybody for coming tonight. Appreciate you putting up with me.
Thanks, Ed, for subbing for Mike.
Yeah, good job.
Thank
bud.
you.